Hi, I'm Chris.
And I'm Wendy.
And welcome to the Toasted Marshmallow Adventures podcast.
Woo!
Tonight, via Zoom, we have comedian and writer Josh Johnson with us. Welcome to the show, Josh. We are happy to have you tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for hanging out with me for a while.
Round two.
Yeah. Some technical difficulties
It was
last
totally
time.
us. So sorry.
Yeah.
No worries.
I've been watching too many YouTube videos on how to make things better for recordings, and
You pushed the wrong button.
push the wrong button. Yes, I figured
happens.
it out though.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
felt
I've
terrible.
been there.
So anyway, thank you so much for coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You're not currently on tour, because I think I read you were touring with Trevor Noah?
Yeah, so the tour is like happening, but it's just not every day. So, like we go out next weekend, and then we don't go out for a little while, and then we go out for like a couple weekends. So it's just the tour as it stands of like the whole span of it.
So where are you hitting? What cities?
I think we're going to North Carolina, and then we're going to Vancouver.
Oh, dang.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
No Idaho on the schedule.
I have to look. There might be something in Boise. I feel like everyone goes to Boise when they hit Idaho.
Yeah, I mean it's our biggest city, so that's where you got to go.
Yeah,
Crowd.
yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. So, I was let's see. I watched your hashtag special. Now, is it just hashtag, or is it hashtag?
It is just hashtag. The thing is initially we just wanted it to be the symbol, but the metadata for some platforms wouldn't take it. So then we had to say it just in case they wouldn't take the symbol. So I understand it looks like hashtag.
Yeah.
Presented by Trevor Noah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're touring with him, right?
That's amazing.
Time. What's the name of the tour that you're on?
Back to Abnormal.
Yeah.
Abnormal. Dang. Well, if you come to Idaho or close to Idaho, we're gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, for sure. No, it'll be a fun time. All the shows have been really phenomenal. Awesome. People have been great, and performances have been really good. So it's been a blast. And then just in the meantime, I've been spending extra time in New York and stuff.
Is that your home base?
Yeah, so I live in Brooklyn, so that's where I am most of the time. And honestly, I was actually talking about it on my podcast. They'll come out. I think this episode will come out tomorrow. But I was telling my co-host about how I was asking all my friends, since Valentine's Day just passed, like what were some of their like Valentine's Day like core story type things. And one of my friends told me that she went on a date with this guy, and it just so happened that their first date landed on Valentine's Day. So this is years ago, but it's like it has all this like pressure of like, this has to be a dope date. And she almost messaged him to be like, hey, do you want to cancel and reschedule? But because of the pressure, like the implied stakes of the date. And then she was like, no, because I don't want to make him think that I'm not interested, you know?
Yeah.
And so then they just go on the date like regular, right? And they decide to meet at the park, have like a nice little walk around and chat, and then go to a dinner, and then go to a movie, right? And they get there, and they hit it off because they've been building up this rapport for I don't know how long they've been talking, but they've been like chatting for a bit. So they already had their little inside jokes, everything. And as they're walking, out of nowhere, he like. The thing when you're driving, like let's say you're in the passenger seat and you're driving, and your mom has to like slam on the brakes, and she just slams her hand like across you. So they're walking, and he just does that immediately, like, and it's like hard, like it startles her. It's like really hard, and he lowers his arm. He's like, sorry, I thought a football was going to hit you. And she looks around, and there's not even a football in the air. There's nothing around that looks like a football, anything, right? And so then they keep walking, and she cannot shake this thing. She was like, "Why do you think a football was just gonna hit me out of nowhere?" And so finally, she asks him, like, it is like 10 minutes have passed, by the way, and they've changed the subject, and they've like kept talking, kept walking, and she was like, "Hey, why'd you think a football was gonna hit me?" And without missing a beat, my man just goes, I'm psychic. So and she's like, "Oh, okay." But so she says, "Oh," in the most polite way possible. Like she's like, "Oh, all right." But and she's also not a full skeptic about psychics. Like that, they never talked about this before. This wasn't like something that they bonded over, but it was just something where he happened to luck out that she was kind of
okay with
is like adjacent to the belief in psychic. Like she doesn't fully believe in psychic, but she was like, "Oh, okay, all right." She like does some astrology and stuff. She's like, whatever, right? And they keep walking and talking, and she's like, "How? Like how do you know? Like, is it your thing, or like how do you?" And he's like, "Ever since I can remember, when I was little, I would have this feeling." And the way that he described it was that if he has like a psychic moment, it's almost like That's So Raven. Like it's almost exactly that, because he will experience the thing as if it's happening, even if nothing has happened, and even if it's not going to happen to him. So like if he had a vision of like being in a car accident, he'd flinch like he was in a car accident as he was standing there. Anyway, he's describing that to her, and they're still walking in the park, and truly out of nowhere, a football hit him in the throat, and like hit him so square in the throat that he went down. Like it didn't just bump his neck, it like pelted him in the throat, and he went down hard. And so he's just laying on the ground holding his throat.
Jeez, crushed his Adam's apple.
Yeah, and so that's what she said. She was like, "I can't believe his Adam's apple did like explode or something." Like it hit him. It hit him so hard and so square in the throat that it. She said the noise he made, she had never heard a person make, because it was like he got hit. So he got hit. So there's the pain of being hit. Then there's like the yelp you want to do from being hit. Then there's him trying to inhale after being hit, because you still need your throat to breathe. And so she was like, he got hit, and he was like, "Oh," like all at once. And then of course the dude who threw the football comes over to like see if he's okay and everything. Is like very apologetic, and then he got hit with the football so hard that the football, when she looked on the ground and realized it was a football that hit him, it was still spinning. Like it was like when you flip a coin and you let it hit the ground. That's what it looked like.
Wow.
Oh, it made me laugh so hard.
Seeing each other. That's what we need to know.
Oh no, they dated for a little while and then fizzled out. But wow, yeah.
But did she believe he was psychic after that?
Seems like
I know. It's like you almost have to give some sort of credit right there to like, you're not a good one. You're not a good psychic. But just because you're not a good psychic doesn't mean you're not psychic. We always think that to be something, the person has to be good at it.
Yeah, to be called a thing. You have to be
to be a thing. You have to be, and it's like, no, you can be a bad chef.
True. Yeah,
you can go to culinary school, everything, and still really burn stuff. Undercook stuff.
Yeah.
One of our friends here that's a comedian is chatting online, Eugene. Now, do you ever have guests on your podcasts?
So we're going to start having guests this year. So we've been doing the podcast for like a year and a half almost. And we haven't done guests because it was just really us figuring out the vibe and the fun of what the podcast is. But now we're going to be having guests this year.
Cool.
Awesome. Yeah, he said, I would love to be on Josh's podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Prince here. Yeah, he's a cool guy. We've had him on recently on our
local
podcast.
Comedian,
Yeah.
cool guy.
Yeah, really nice guy.
Eugene
Basham.
And
coincidentally is a martial artist, so his last name fits what he does,
Yeah. Like, wow. Yeah. What a fitting, yeah. It doesn't get better than that.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess there's the only thing I guess is like Kellum for like kill him.
Oh,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
that would be pretty fire.
If you were like a hitman or something, that would work out. So before hashtag, you had an album called Elusive. Is that correct?
Yeah. So it's a mix of music and stand up. So the music work as interludes in between the jokes and stuff. And so I co-wrote the songs and everything, but it is not me singing. I think a lot of people think that it's me singing, even though it's multiple people throughout the mixtape that sing. So none of those are me. I hate to disappoint anyone who thought that it was, but that's not. I got people to collaborate with me that are far more talented.
Oh, really? But you wrote the lyrics and someone else wrote the music for him?
Yeah, so I would co-write the lyrics, and then we had Mike Realm producing, and then there were some tracks that were pretty much mostly produced by the time they came to us. So like there's one guy named Frankie Tsunami who did a remix of his initial single for the mixtape. So there were some songs like that one in particular where I had very little to do with it. Like I didn't write the lyrics for his remix or anything.
So what made you decide to do comedy and music on the same album? I don't know if anyone's ever done that.
Yeah, so I basically just have really always wanted to work on both at the same time, and it just felt like 2020 was a perfect opportunity to do that. So I spent the majority of 2020 working on it and, learning. I'm still not that great of a producer or anything. Like I said, I'm like half tone deaf, so I'm still learning a whole lot. But I just thought that it would be an interesting piece because I think that music has like a staying power that stand up doesn't always. I think that for the most part, comedy is very much of the moment. You're talking about things that people find funny while they find them funny. Yeah. And I think that with music, even if you're doing the same thing with a song, it can lead to something that's much more timeless. And it's one of those things where with music, there's an interpretation taken away from the artist that could not even be what they intended, and gives it lasting, a lasting effect for the audience. Like I can't tell you how many times there's been someone who's told me how much they love a song, but then if you see an interview by the artist, everything that they got out of the song is not what the artist was even writing about or talking about, or I mean, so it'll be someone who's like, oh wow, the song reminds me of my dad, and it's just it's so sweet, and it makes me think about the Sundays that we would hang out together. And then you talk to the artist, and he's like, oh, I wrote that about government overreach. So it's like you can't control that aspect. And I think that because stand up is usually so much more direct, it's very hard to come away, unless you're willfully trying to misunderstand, it's very hard to come away with a different meaning than the artist intended. And so I felt like bonding those two together and having the music finish the thought that the stand-up was may give it lasting, just like a replayability. And a lasting impression that I don't know if it would have had the same amount of if it was simply a comedy album or something.
Interesting.
Never thought of that really, but very true. I think music does have
it brings you right back,
staying power than comedy. Yeah,
because like even when you there are some people who write great jokes that you're never going to forget and that are always funny to you and everything. That's not like, I'm not saying comedy can't do that. I'm just saying by and large it usually doesn't. Like people still listen to people listen to music from the 60s and love it very much, and then people emulate music from the 60s to make new music, but you don't really see that with comedy. Like I don't know who like they have on Spotify even. I think there are Bob Hope comedy albums. I don't know who's listening to them, but it's like it's the same era. So it's like an era where there's a comedian that's like renowned that is incredible. They're not getting replayed at the same rate that the music of their time was.
Yeah.
No, definitely not. Yeah, really true. I wanted to ask you about, first of all, your podcast. Now, your co-host, he's also a comedian.
Yeah. My co-host is Logan Nielsen, and he does stand-up as well. We actually just did a run of shows together at Caroline's.
Oh, cool.
In New York. Yeah, it was really fun.
Nice.
If you run into Mark Norman,
give him crap.
For bailing on our podcast.
In Utah.
Yeah.
Oh, when he was in Utah?
Yeah, last year we went to a show and hit him up to be on the podcast. We're coming to your show in Salt Lake. We'll bring our equipment. You want to be on the podcast? And he was like, sure thing. And, bailed at the last minute.
And then we had Idaho Comedy Fest, and we had stand-up New York people come in. And so we interviewed all these comics from New York City. And everyone that knew Mark Norman were like, tell him he was supposed to be just
yeah.
Give him a little crap.
How was the festival, by the way?
It was awesome.
Yeah, it was really great. It was fun. They're doing it again this year in June.
Yeah.
With Stand Up New York again.
Just to see some new faces. And it was a ton of people came from New York. It was really cool.
Yeah, there was probably at least 30.
I think
from
more.
New York, yeah. It was pretty great. We did 9 podcasts in 2 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We were exhausted. So actually, we didn't see a ton of comedy at the Comedy Fest, but we
met people.
Talked to cool people. Do you know
Cypher Sounds?
Cypher Sound.
Yeah.
Talked with him.
Brett
Raybold. He was cool too.
Jason
Frankie
Salmon.
French.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff Sheen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Jeff Sheen is great. I used to live with Jeff Sheen.
Oh, you did?
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
he was my roommate when I first moved to New York. Him and Amy Shanker were my roommates when we all moved to New York together.
So you moved from Louisiana?
From Chicago. So I met them in Chicago. So I grew up in Louisiana, but I started comedy in Chicago. And then, Jeff, Amy, and I all moved to New York around the same time. So we lived together for 2 years, maybe even 3, almost 3, I think.
And living in New York, we're talking tiny spaces, right?
It depends on where you are and how much money you have. If you have a lot of money, you can almost get a nice place in Idaho. Like a nice place in Idaho is millions of dollars in New York, And then outside of that, the conditions of my room when I lived with Jeff and Amy wasn't like the worst. Like I wasn't in some box, but I was outside. Okay, so here's the thing. It was technically not outside because they had built the walls around it and everything, but it was outside. It was how you probably have this in Idaho, how at the back of someone's house where a patio or a deck would start.
Yeah.
It was like that. Yeah, it was it would be like that. So it's I was essentially living in a room where they had clearly built walls around what could have been a deck. So maybe it was never a deck. But when you stepped over the threshold to Jeff and my room, because we had essentially this big room that was separated by a false wall. And when you stepped over that, the floor was freezing cold because the floor was as cold as outside was. Because it wasn't stone, I don't think, but it was the floor was just this it felt like stone almost. And it wasn't until I had a sublet while I was gone that was bro, you're outside, that I was yeah, I am kind of.
How'd you stay warm in the wintertime?
Yeah, there's obviously heating. Like we had the AC and everything, so it's like we had the benefit of that. I didn't have a window unit. We actually had AC, which was like
Oh,
huge in lots of parts of New York. Don't have that. Lots of buildings don't have that, right? So it's like it had plenty of its amenities and benefits. Like we had a dishwasher. Like, it's not like we were living in some sort of squalor. It's just Jeff and I were outside. It was very, when it got cold, it was very cold, and I would definitely go to bed with like a robe on and stuff. And it was hard to get up in the morning because I knew my feet were going to touch the cold floor and everything. But woof.
That's what you do.
wow.
Yeah.
Also, small world, really.
Yeah, really wild.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I was also watching on YouTube, I think it was from a while ago, a Visit Seattle video with you in it.
Oh, yeah. I remember that was so much fun.
Navigating around with no phone, no access to internet, and get places.
That is
That's
a cool concept.
Yeah.
it's very difficult.
Yeah.
It is.
But
I
we
don't
used to
know
do
what
it.
I'm
I don't know if
doing.
you did, but we used to.
Yeah, we used to have to do it that way.
I remember printing out the pages
Oh, yeah,
of MapQuest for my
Yeah.
mom.
Me too.
Yeah.
And that was like that, especially if you. So there was a trip I went on with her. I can't remember where we were, and we had printed the MapQuest pages, I think from the library, and then I don't know what happened.
You lost a page.
But yeah, like one of the pages got out of order, and it really, like we had to like pull over and really reassess.
Like where the heck we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like one staple would have saved us so much time.
Yeah.
But we were like, no, we can just toss it on the floor in the back seat when we're done with that page.
Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, wow. So did you end up way off of your path?
Luckily, my mom caught that things were not making sense almost immediately. And so then she pulled over. So we didn't end up in like a different part of the country or something. But it was like there was a moment of panic where, because this is also back when you couldn't, like, there wasn't the GPS. You had to have a TomTom. You had to have a whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to remember where we were going.
Moms.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Moms will save you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I did it one time with a friend. This was a little late. Like one of us should have had a phone with some GPS on it. But there was one time where I was on a short road trip with friends, and they printed some pages, and that was like at the cusp of no one needing to do it anymore. Like we probably shouldn't have done it. We probably should have just like all pitched in for one of us to have a better phone or GPS.
My first phone was like huge. And
Or cell phone.
Yeah.
Oh, mine was like a brick.
yeah, it was like a giant thing that I laid in the seat next to me. Yeah.
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 Crazy times.
We had to have some big pockets. And I mean, back then I used to wear like Ben Davis pants, so they had huge pockets for a big ass brick phone.
Yeah. I can't even imagine like we all talk about like that Zach Morris phone, like that Zach Morris cell phone. Yeah. And it's like, that's a murder weapon. That's not even, it's not even something that you can like actually use.
Yeah.
Like you can use it to make calls only.
Yeah, that's it. That's all they did back then. But to be honest, the first phone I had was bigger than that one, and it was metal. It was I don't know, like the first Nokia ever. It's like that.
Dang.
It's crazy how it feels like when we go through like a new invention, right? So there'll be something where it's too big and clunky, it's clumsy, it's whatever. Then it gets sleek, it gets smaller, it gets center or whatever. But then when you look at the military version of any of those things, it looks like the old thing.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then there's people like running around with like go bags in other countries. Like, I don't know if they're on missions or not, but I'm just saying, like, I've seen the footage of the military calling people on phones, and it's like, that's a 90s cell phone.
Yeah.
Giant.
What do they know that we don't know?
Yeah, true.
Yeah. I think
Maybe that's the most reliable phone.
that probably, yeah, just some old like radio technology that hooks up to any satellite or something.
Yeah.
I don't know the science behind it. So you have a new special coming out, right?
Yeah, so I basically got together with some other comics that I really, really enjoy, and we recorded a comedy mixtape. So unlike Elusive, there won't be as much music or anything on it, but there will be more comics besides just me, and that's going to come out February 25th. And it's called Channel Black, and so it'll be us. It'll be me, Dulce Sloan, Ashton Womack, Randall Otis, CJ Hunt, and then there's going to be excerpts, like little interludes in there that are lesser known speeches from black activists and everything.
Oh,
Oh,
cool.
okay. And now is that going to be audio or video or both?
So that one's going to be audio. It'll be anywhere you listen to music. It'll come out. So Spotify, Pandora, Apple, Tidal, all that stuff.
Okay. I will have to
February
get that.
25th.
February 25th, yeah. Not too long.
No, awesome. Where was that? So, how did everybody contribute on that?
So we got together on one night and we had two shows and just had a great time. Everybody did, like 12 to 15 minutes. And then we obviously had to edit some of it down for length of the overall mixtape. But that the show was the biggest part of it. And then the other part was working with Mike Realm, again, who EP'd Elusive, and Miles Sinoski, and they both produced and mixed and mastered, respectively, the different tracks. So Miles is like an incredible engineer, like audio engineer. So he helped restore a lot of like tracks that didn't have the best quality because of how old they were. And so, Mike put them to music, and then Miles sort of like, what's the best word for it? Sort of like re-engineered some of the corrosion in some of the clips, because some of it is like one of them's from like 1921 or something.
Oh,
So
dang. Wow.
yeah, it's like early audio. It's like all scratchy.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
really cool, though.
Yeah, so it's going to be fun. I'm excited for people to check it out and just have fun with it overall.
Yeah, definitely. Now, were you a writer first or a comedian first?
Definitely a comedian first. I started writing years ago, but for the most part, I just wrote stand-up to begin with, and then I started trying to write for different publications and little outlets here and there, and then I got a job at the Tonight Show, and then
How
Yeah,
does a
how'd that
person
work?
do that?
Yeah, so the funny enough, the Tonight Show came about from stand up, because I had submitted a tape to do stand up on the show, and the head writer at the time really liked my set. So he asked my manager if I'd be willing to send in a couple of jokes, like a packet of jokes, and so I did, and then they liked them, and then they asked me to send in another packet just to, I guess, make sure it wasn't a fluke. And then I did, and then they brought me in for an interview, and I chatted with the producers and the head writer and everything, and then ended up getting the job. And so I was there in 2016, and then in 2017 I got a job at the Daily Show. And so I've been at the Daily Show ever since, and just working on my own projects and doing stand up on top of that.
That is so
Wow,
cool. So,
yeah.
how do you write for The Daily Show? Can you be at home and send in your.
Yeah, so we've been working from home for a while since the pandemic, because just wanted to make sure everybody's safe and able to work without anxiety and everything. So it's been great to still be able to send in my jokes and work with people, even if obviously you love being with the people.
Yeah.
You know, I really enjoy everyone that I work with, but I think that it's been a really good experience to like work on myself and my jokes and everything and send them in. And you know, we still collaborate daily. So it's not like that aspect is gone.
But
Yeah.
you look at what's happening in the world and then you write jokes and send them in. Is that
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly we get a sense of what we might talk about,
okay?
sometimes even the day before. But yeah, you know, it's mostly about taking a general perspective that you have about things that are happening in the world, and then you basically try to turn it on its head in a sense of what, you know, what humor might be there, or what at least interesting takeaways there are from it, and then you move forward accordingly as far as like what the show needs as far as jokes.
Yeah. And now, are there a lot of writers for the Daily Show? And are you assigned like a segment, or how does that work?
Yeah, you can be. I mean, I don't know what a lot would entail. Like, I guess I've heard of some shows having like 6 writers, and then some shows have like 30, and you know, whatever. Like, I think we have 12, but yeah, it's like it's one of those things where I think that every show, late night or sitcom or anything, finds over time the right fit and the right amount of people that makes a cohesive unit. So it's always interesting to look at rooms and see how many people were brought on. Like even with award shows, sometimes with award shows, there's like 3 people brought on, and then sometimes there's like, you know, 12, or you know, with roasts it's the same way. It's like sometimes there's like 9 people, sometimes there's 4. So it really is up to the I imagine for most shows it's up to the showrunner, but I don't know that much about the overall process of like how people budget for rooms and stuff like that. Like I think that a lot of places have made a shift now. I'm interested in how rooms are going to be moving forward after the pandemic.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Is it? It's not over.
No, it's definitely not over. We thought it was for a minute.
Yeah, it's like, you know, you keep going in your general right direction, I guess. Like, you know, there's all of these like aspects of the pandemic that we use as metrics to decide how bad or good things are going, and they seem to be edging in a positive direction, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Idaho just went off of like, I don't know, critical status for hospital, you know.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
But I had
Finally.
COVID last week.
Yeah, last week she
Oh,
had,
geez. Oh,
second
no.
time. Yeah, I had it.
Yeah.
We both had it in Thanksgiving.
November 2020.
Yeah.
This time she got it, and I
And-
didn't get it. I mean, we didn't
Very close
quarantine her.
quarters.
We were still in the
I did
same
wear a
bedroom.
mask in the
but-
house once I
Yeah, she did,
realized,
but-
but yeah, it was
Yeah.
basically. I think it was just a congestion, sore throat for a
Yeah,
couple
yours
days.
was
and-
really like a cold.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah,
Oh,
you don't.
well, I'm glad you're all right.
Thank you. Yeah, and I didn't want to give it to anybody, so I just holed up. Actually, I cleaned the house from top to bottom. Honestly,
She did,
I
yeah.
went crazy.
She
Yeah,
loved
it was
Yeah.
very deep.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
So on your podcast, do you do the editing? Your co-host? Do you have an editor?
So yeah, Logan does a lot of the real work that goes into the podcast. You know what I mean? Like I feel like my job is to feel the world for experiences and stories, and then talk to people, and you know, get a sense of like even the Valentine's Day episode that we have coming out tomorrow. That like a lot of that spawned from just hanging out with my friends and talking about the subject with them, and you know, if they had ever experienced anything, and then getting their permission to tell it on the podcast and stuff. So that's like the main thing. But then yeah, Logan does a lot. So he's doing the editing, he's doing like a
Uploading.
lot of the handling of like the not necessarily just equipment, but like he takes the lead as far as like any tech concerns and stuff. So if we're working on getting better cameras or something, it's like I'm always leaning on him to let me know what the best move is, like what's the most helpful.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Gotcha.
That's
But
nice.
you are now getting into, or you've been into a while, kind of trying or working on producing music, or
Yeah, so I've been trying to learn for a while, and then I've also spent some time with people who know more than me.
that's the best way to learn.
Yeah, so it's like been leaning on them real hard. Lots of questions. I'm asking some questions over and over again.
Oh yeah. Definitely. So you're an Emmy nominated writer. Is that for writing for the Daily Show, or is that
Yeah. So that's for writing for the Daily Show. I think that was in 2020 that we got nominated.
okay? Does that give you like a career boost, or how's that work for you?
I'd like to think so, but we'll see. Who knows? Maybe not.
Um,
Yeah, that would be great, but you know.
yeah. So you said Dolce Sloan is on the new special that you're on, and I was listening to your live episode. Now, have you just done one live episode so far?
Yeah, just one live one, and it was a great time. She was an amazing guest. We're going to definitely have her on more. Dulce's so funny.
Yeah, she just came in hot when she right when she came in, and it was funny because she started talking about some flat Earth guy.
Yeah.
And the world was like only like 30 blocks, and he wanted to visit Idaho.
Idaho.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone said Idaho was a lie. I think
Yeah.
that might have been you. But, yeah, the flat Earth people want to come here. I mean, that's,
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah. And what's the reason again?
why they want to come here?
Yeah. Is there something about the
is.
Earth that?
Well, there's something about Idaho.
I think there's something just about theories like that in Idaho,
Yeah,
and
I think we may attract weird people.
weird people, yeah, that are into a lot of conspiracy theories.
Anti everything people. some
Maybe
areas.
people in militias. I don't know
Yeah.
if we have those still.
Wow.
Bombers. Northern Idaho.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's a great state.
Yeah, we're good.
So I've only been in New York once.
Me
and,
too. Yeah.
as a tourist, and yeah, it was pretty fun. That was actually my favorite non-snowboarding vacation, was going to New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. We went and watched. Have you ever seen Avenue Q?
No, but I've heard a couple of the songs.
Yeah,
Really good.
yeah,
Amazing.
pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah. So now, I forget if this was on your hashtag special or another clip I saw about catfishing the KKK. Can you tell?
Oh yeah, that's like its own clip. Yeah.
Okay. So what you had this Craigslist addiction? Is that when that happened?
Yeah, that's definitely how I would describe it. I just was like, I don't know. I was like a kid home alone a lot after school. And
How
so you
old were
get on
at this
Craigslist.
time?
That's a good question. I feel like here's the thing. I did this for like a couple years.
Couple years.
So it's like it all really mushes together, because the thing is, especially when you're in high school, it's like when you're in high school, everything is such a big deal every year. But then as you get older, the further away you get from it, you're like, was that senior year or was that immediately? Like it all just becomes like one little chunk of time. And so I was like in this weird place as well, where I'm sure a lot of teenagers are like this, where like there's a certain age where you kind of just want to do things to see what happens. Like you just want, like you don't have enough life experience or really any life experience. So then anything that pops up that's like interesting in the least, you're you're like, your eyes light up. There's like a fire that goes off in your brain and everything. But yeah, I did that clip, and then I did like, what's funny now is that there are things that I have a decent amount of content out. So then there are things that I have out that are stories, and then there's Comedy Central clips, and then there's just random clip. Like I found like a random clip someone made of me from like 6 years ago or something, and I was like, man, this is why, like, especially if you're living in the present, I suppose you're always thinking that this is you right now. So when you see yourself from years ago, you're like, oh wow, that was me too. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if y'all, because how long have y'all been doing the podcast?
We're coming up on 3 years now.
Yeah, so it's like if you saw a clip from year one, you'd be like, wow.
Horrible.
If we heard an audio, yeah.
Yeah, we started out just audio. Actually, our first audio episode had zero editing.
And
to
it was
it.
like
Oh, really?
6 minutes long.
Zero editing, yeah, 6
So
minutes
like, how do we
long.
do this? What are we doing?
It was
That's
bad.
our welcome.
It's bad. It's out.
I mean, that is actually very funny. That's pretty funny.
It's still out there. It's it's in our feed everywhere. So, but I mean, you start and you progress, and like now we're doing editing for other people's podcasts.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's great. And it's also one of those things where, especially as we get older, sometimes it's very easy to get discouraged and try like give up on things that you're not already good at, because you're like, the way it was described to me is that when you're a little kid, you're bad at everything. You're bad at walking, you're bad at talking, you're bad at everything. And so as you get older, you get good at things along with the things that you get good at to be a regular person.
yeah.
And it's not until you're much older that you know how good you are at some things and how bad you are at other things. And the time it takes to get good at new things is the same as it would have been before. So, like you mentioned, you've started playing ukulele and stuff. It's like when you pick up a ukulele, you're a baby with that ukulele. Like it's nothing. You can't do anything, right? And then as you get better, and then there's probably another thing you'll take up. Like you'll like that. I find that with language too. Language is something where if you start learning another language, you might as well be a baby learning that language. Like that's how you sound. You like can't sound out the words quite right. It's like none of it's hitting.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely true. I remember when I actually got my first ukulele, and it was probably about 2 weeks to my first lesson, and I was messing around with it, and I couldn't make anything that sounded like music with it at all.
Yeah.
How proud you were for like, Mary Had a Little Lamb and
Yeah,
stuff.
you learned that kind of stuff.
He was
first,
very
and it's
proud.
like, check out
Yeah, it should be. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, next stop, Billboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So you grew up in Louisiana, right? How long were you there for? I've actually never been to Louisiana.
You're doing fine. It's not. It's not a big deal. So yeah, I was in Louisiana from like what? From when I was born to when I was like 22.
And then Chicago.
And then Chicago, and then New York. Yeah.
Did you meet Andrew Santino in Chicago?
No, I think he had left before I got there, or was leaving right around the time that I got there, because I'm familiar with him and everything, but I feel like he was in LA by the time I was in Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
But a lot of cool clubs in Chicago. We've never been there. It's on my list of places to go.
Yeah, I want to go there.
Seems like an awesome place.
Yeah. What is Chicago like? So
Enjoy
you're
it.
right in the
Chicago's
city.
great. It's a great comedy city. Yeah, so I was in Rogers Park the whole time. So that's like very north. It's like almost Evanston, Illinois. And it's a wonderful place to start doing comedy. It's really fun.
Are there a lot of clubs out there?
Yeah, there's actually quite a few. When I was there was like 4 or 5. Because you have Zanies, you have Laugh Factory, Comedy Bar, and then it was Jokes and Notes, but now I think there's a place on the south side called the Revival or something. And so there's usually 4 or 5 clubs around. And then that's on top of the comedy theaters. So then improv is big in Chicago. So there's at least 3 theaters at any given time. So there was Second City when I was there, and IO and Annoyance. And I think like Second City's been like bought out or something, or they're going through some changes. And I think IO closed temporarily. It might be open again. I don't know. And then the Annoyance is still there to my knowledge.
So where do you think of as home? Louisiana, Chicago, little.
I think, I go to Georgia. Sometimes that's where my family is now. And so it's a mix between like Georgia and Chicago. Like I always feel at home when I'm in Chicago and everything, but Georgia's where more family is.
And does New York work in terms of business? I mean, would you stay in New York?
It's like it's a great base to be at. It's where a lot of things are happening and you get to meet a lot of great people. So I'm always happy about that.
Yeah. I think we loved it. It was just so different, and you have to like be ready for anything kind of in New York.
Well, even I'm from like the Bay Area in California, and New York is still different from, like San Francisco,
It
in
is.
a way.
You got to be on.
Different vibe, really.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just because I've been to San Francisco way more than I've been to New York City. And so, that could be. But crazy. Yeah, we had tickets to take the Greyhound bus back to Philadelphia one night. That thing was delayed by like 4 hours. So
People
were
were
like,
mad.
oh,
yelling.
there were some people.
We're not used to that. They were yelling.
That was wild.
Pass out. We're like, I was like, I have a credit card. I'm going to pay a lot of money
to take the Amtrak back to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I got to get out of here.
So
you did the right thing.
Station.
Yeah.
It was fun, but it was like you got to be like ready for anything.
Yeah,
you gotta know codes to go to the bathroom if you're walking around. Starbucks code.
Yeah, exactly. Are there? I wondered this while we were there. Are there apps out there that just have like bathroom codes in New York City? Or
I don't know if they have codes, but there's definitely an app that lets you know where the free bathrooms are.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
That helpful.
Yeah, that definitely.
Yeah.
We just ended up buying bunches of food to like go to the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what they want you to do. But there's a couple out there that'll let you slide. They'll let you go in.
Okay, that's good. Now, listening to or watching actually your special hashtag, and just kind of seeing write-ups about you being a storyteller, watching that special. First of all, did you just kind of learn your storytelling skills on your own? Because when I was watching that, I was like, you told stories in a way where I was like, okay, I got to wait and hear the end of this story.
Yeah, I mean, I think that some of it is coming from Louisiana and being around really great storytellers and everything. And then the rest was like polished off in Chicago, because I think that there's like a mode and a demeanor that a lot of comics have in Chicago that just as a collective group, I think rubs off on everybody. And it's why that I think a lot of comics coming out of Chicago are very sharp, and they're just like, it's not just a confidence. It's also just a decision making and what is interesting and what's worth telling. Mm-hmm. And so I think that though living in those two places really help solidify whatever storytelling skill I have or anything. Like I think that also stories are what I'm passionate about, because it's how we relate to each other and each other's experiences. It's like the most direct way to transfer experience to a person.
Mm.
So do you come from a long line of storytellers?
My grandma told great stories, like really, really great stories. But for the most part, it's really been her as the main one that I look back and I'm like, wow, that was like when I was little and she would tell me a story, I was like, oh, this is crazy. And she knew what details to pick, to highlight, to keep the story moving forward and everything. And there were some where, I don't know, she also knew how to shock. Like she knew how to like drop something in that was then not just not what you expected. It was just like something that maybe she might even treat it like it's not a big deal to like heighten the fact that it is, you know? So
Yeah.
my grandma's like one of the main ones that I can credit
Oh,
with
that's cool.
telling me really great stories when I was young that weren't just storybook stories, like stories from her life, you know?
Oh,
Wow.
that's awesome.
Nice. And then
Yeah.
now, did you go to school to be a writer, or is that just something you decided you were going to do one day and
So
just worked on it?
no, not really. I went to school studying design.
Mm.
And so when I was studying design for lighting, for theater and dance and everything like that, I wasn't even an actor or anything. But I really had a passion being around the theater. It always excited me. I loved being part of production. I loved seeing what I worked on helping to build out a bigger show.
Mhm.
And to this day, I think that's still kind of what I'm doing. Like I think that that's the beginning of what I do and like why I do it the way that I and how I feel about art and collaboration and everything is because I got to come up in theater like that.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, sure enough, I did not use my degree at all. Like
Yeah.
what,
Me
like,
neither.
yeah. I did it for like 6 months after college. And I guess, you know, in those 6 months, it did yield me a good amount of money and experience. But then once I moved to Chicago, I just went in all in on stand up because I just couldn't do both. And so I chose stand up and then, you know, ended up, ended up going very well.
Yeah. And did your family support you in that
Yeah.
move, like not using your degree and
Yeah,
like kind of going rogue a little bit?
yeah, I imagine my mom was always worried about it, but I think that you know she quickly realized how serious I was about it and everything, and how seriously I was taking everything. So it wasn't going to be some like dead end thing.
Yeah.
Good.
How many years did it take you to just kind of feel like you were getting somewhere in comedy?
Um, you know, I've been blessed enough to where I felt like I was getting somewhere each year because I think there was enough progress each year, more so than the year before, that I felt like I was heading in the right direction the whole time. Like I haven't had the experience of being discouraged enough to think like, oh man, I'm making a really bad decision or something. Because I think that I didn't start making money with comedy. I think I was lucky enough to not start making money with comedy till it was time, until it was like actually going to be beneficial in the way that I could look at it as a business as well. And so my first year, you know, outside of like some spot pay here and there, I didn't make any money. And then around year two, I think year two is the first time I did a college.
Hmm.
And then from there, like year three and stuff was when I was really like learning about myself, learning more about how the ins and outs of how everything work, and learning to take the business side of it, not just like seriously, but to see if there's any room for improvement, try and make those improvements myself and everything. So it's every year has been like a real blessing. So it hasn't been a thing of like really big swings of up and down
Oh,
years, you know.
wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, because doesn't seem a lot of the comedians that we've
We
talked
hear
to. Yeah,
like 10 years.
10
of
years.
broke-
Yeah, yeah. And I've also been very blessed with the amount of chances people have given me. So it's like I've definitely had my breaks and my opportunities that I don't discount for a second. Like sometimes when you're like when a person has any form of opportunity or success, they think that it's like, oh, I just must be that great. And it's like maybe, but maybe in the randomness of the universe, someone is taking a chance on you or doing you a favor or being kind to you. And so it's important not to discount those moments as well. Like I've had a lot of those. So I can't pretend like I haven't been very lucky in the thing that I've decided to do.
Yeah. Going back to college shows, because I've heard a lot of comedians complain about them, but they also seem like a stepping stone, too. How do you feel about them?
I enjoy it. I mean, I haven't had like a bad college experience. So I've been very lucky in that way, where people are usually pretty upfront with me about like if there's some weird thing. Like I know when you go to Utah, there's like some schools you do where you can't talk about coffee or something. So it's like there's some things that are there are some things that are like super offbeat like that, where if someone tells you ahead of time, then it's like, all right, I at least know.
Yeah.
So I have heard horror stories from comedians of like right before they go up, someone's like, "Oh yeah, and don't talk about this thing," and they're like, "Oh well, okay." So yeah, but
My coffee set.
Yeah.
yeah, right. My whole 60 minutes on coffee.
Yeah.
So no, I've been very lucky to have done some great shows. I've done a few bad ones, but even the bad ones weren't like. It was only the fault of the organizer, not the fault of the students. Like I had this set one time where they scheduled my set right before they were going to announce who won a car. And
That's impossible.
and it was like, it was insane. It was like, so I started my set and the first half of my set's going well, but then the auditorium just floods with all these kids who are showing up specifically to see who won the car. And so then it's like the last half of my set, I just ate it because it was like,
They don't care.
No.
They
Yeah.
want in the car.
yeah. So I was like, I was exhausted with it. That was like, that was a definite bad one. Other ones are like fine. Even if it's bad, it's an experience, you know? So it's like, I don't stress out about colleges in that way.
Yeah. All right. Before we get out of here, I have two more questions.
Yeah.
First one is so besides touring with Trevor Noah, writing for the Daily Show, are there
Besides
other?
that.
Besides that stuff, are there other projects you're working on right now?
Yeah, so I have another mixtape that's going to come out later in the year after Channel Black comes out. And then besides the podcast, Logan and I are going to do like some more touring throughout the year and stuff, like go out together a few more times at least, and as many more times as we can. And then, I think that's mainly it. I think that those things are going to take up a lot of the rest of my time.
Definitely, yeah. Okay, one question I have to ask, and Wendy does not want me to ask this question, and I don't know how we were discovered, but was it you or Amanda? I was curious how you guys heard about us.
Oh yeah, I think for the most part, I think I was just like cruising around Facebook one day and stumbled on, I think it was a clip, or it may have just been your page. And I was like reaching out to Amanda. I was like, hey, let's see if we can hang out for a little while,
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. So just,
that.
keep doing everything that you're doing. Make sure to, always, that's the thing that I found out, whether it was with Elusive or any other project. It's like, always ask people if they want to be part of your thing, because you never know who's going to be excited to, or is going to have time to, and you didn't expect it. Like that stuff is always a pleasant surprise, because the worst thing that can happen is nothing. The worst thing that can happen is you reach out to someone and you're like, I can't.
Exactly.
So we're the official podcast of the Lounge, and if you ever get to Boise, we would
Yes.
love to have you at the Lounge.
I
at
think
the
we
end of
gave
the universe.
Amanda the info.
Oh, dope. Yeah.
Venue, they do,
an
besides
amazing place.
other things, they do a lot of comedy shows there. That's where the Idaho Comedy Fest was last year. This year it'll be there and a couple other locations as well. So yeah, if you ever make it, hit up the Lounge, talk to them, and get in on the show.
Yes.
We'll come watch.
Yes.
Yeah, and we can.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Gosh.
Yes, thank
Thank you for
Yeah.
round two. We
Yeah,
appreciate it.
right? We did it.
Understanding.
Yeah, for sure. And best of luck with the show and the ukulele. Like things are coming up hot,
Popping.
And also, we are opening a second
studio.
studio on February 23rd in Boise.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, thank you so much for being on the show tonight. It was great talking to you.
Yes.
Yeah, it was great talking to you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
Thank you. And let's do our outro
All
and
right.
we'll get out of here. I'm signing out.
I'm signing off.
I'm Chris Adam.
I'm Wendy Mosier. Hashtag get toasted.
Stay toasted. And thank
Thank you,
you,
Josh
Josh Johnson, so much.
We appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah. Y'all have a great night.